In China, it was a communist revolutionary who promised his people a new, egalitarian utopia.
An individual in history, Mao Ze Dong. Mao Ze Dong was born December 26, 1893 in the village of Shaoshan in the Hunan province of China. This picture depicts his house that he grew up in around the time of the early 1900s. In Mao's childhood, he grew up with a fairly well-to-do family that consisted of his mother and his harsh father. This picture shows Mao as a young man who would soon be the ruler of communist China, unknowingly though. As Mao grew up, he independently studied in the primary school, and soon went to the training college in Changsha, where he was introduced to the ideals of Marxism. Our work will soon be written in the history of mankind. It will say that the Chinese, who occupy a quarter of the world's population, have stood up. Let those rebellion groups tremble before us. Let them point out our shortcomings. The citizens of China will securely achieve our aims using unwavering determination. Communism is not love. Communism is a hammer which we use to crush the enemy. One of Mao's greatest accomplishments was gaining trust of the peasants and workers in the lower class range and uniting them to form the Red Guard of China. These devout people were strong and willing to serve under Mao's beliefs and give their lives for him. His followers and Red Guard members were given his Little Red Book that included his teachings, quotations of Marxism, and beliefs, whether they be moral or immoral. Over 6.5 billion Little Red Books were published for the people, and they are still being distributed and circulated today for educational purposes. Mao's Red Army and small militias soon were sent to fight out a civil war against the nationalist Chiang Kai-shek army. As though it seemed they were going to lose, the Red Army made a retreat which is now famously called the Long March. In this Long March, the Kuomintang, formerly Chiang Kai-shek's army, had been attacking the Communist Party, and Mao knew that if they didn't formulate a battle plan, the war would result in loss. So with 87,000 soldiers left that were alive, they started to retreat across China carrying loads of items including 33,000 guns and about 2 million ammunition cartridges. On the way, the Red Army lost about 70,000 soldiers in the process, but they won against Kuomintang by combining with the communist troops in Yunnan. In 1966, Mao Ze Dong, who was the chairman of the Chinese Communist Party, announced a cultural revolution in China. He did so because he feared that China would fall into the same path of the Soviet Union's Russian Revolution. So to take the Chinese out of their economic depression due to the Great Leap Forward, he sparked the minds of China's youth with a revolutionary mindset. And all over China, revolts, riots, and young men and women who were led by his ideals were organized into a group called the Red Guards. The ideals he announced to the young generation were put into acts such as shutting down schools, encouraging Red Guards to destroy traditional artifacts and values, and to criticize party officials. After Mao had visited most of China, he decided that the Chinese should and could be able to do anything, but the two tasks he focused on were industry and agriculture. The result of this, he announced a 5-year plan, which was called the Great Leap Forward. His plan was to plant the seed of agriculture and industry and then care for it as it grew. To satisfy these demands, Mao and his colleagues and advisors set out to reform China into a series of communes. In communes, there were about 5,000 families, those who shared everything, whether it be tools, animals, schools, and nurseries. In the commune, life was filled with sharing because the people who worked in the commune didn't work for themselves. There were soldiers who worked with people, and 12 families to form a work team. In the beginning of 1959, the once perfect ideas of Mao and colleagues started a downward tumble. Party officials started to give impossible orders to commune leaders who would be punished if they didn't oblige. Following the tumble, farm machines started breaking down because of hasty construction. Buildings crumbled due to impure materials. Drought and famine had taken over the lives of the commune folk, and people started to die. Mao finally admitted that his Great Leap Forward failed in 1959. In results to Mao Zedong's reign over China, there were 14 to 20 million deaths from starvation during the Great Leap Forward, and tens of thousands were killed and millions of lives were ruined during the Cultural Revolution. Aside from these cruel facts, Mao left a significantly deep cut into China's history. Though some of his plans failed, Mao had won the hearts of the Chinese with his ideals of Marx and Lenin, and in time, gained the majority's support. In 1967, when the cities and heritage of China were on the brink of destruction, Mao sent his Red Army to restore the order. But by that time, he was already 70 years old, and he knew that his body couldn't hold much longer than 5 to 10 years. The legacy left behind by Mao Zedong is the definition of unity in China today. Not only China was struck by his actions, but Tibet, Russia, the United States, Japan, and Korea today have all seen what horrors and legacies Mao left.